It is presented by the concerned citizens and Mountain Watershed. The purpose is to share valid information from Mountain Watershed Association and a host of other concerns which will impact our area with regard to the Rustic Ridge Mine. If there is a chance when the mine goes through, and there's going to be a lot of steps you're going to need to do. So please follow through with these steps. You're going to be working with the mine, and I repeat, if you get a letter in the mail, please don't throw it out. Read it and follow the directions. And if you look up at the logo up here, I want to point a few things out. The motto for Mountain Watershed Association is protecting, preserving, and restoring. My name is Jim Miller. My wife Judy and I are residents of Donegal Township. We are one of the 601 property owners that is going to fall in the mine footprint. Most likely, we're going to be in the blast area. We have been working with the concerned citizens for over a year now, and Mountain Watershed. We have accumulated a long list of questions and answers and concerns for the community. What we're going to do tonight is a little bit different than you did presentations before. We want to do a quick overview, and we're going to have stations around where you can actually go and ask the questions to the people, the guests that's talking, and whatever, to answer your questions. Rather than sit here and everybody wait to get their question, we figured it's much easier for you to go to the people. So please hold your questions till last. We're going to have maps around the room. And Mick Sisson in the back of the red shirt can help you with the map, looking at what you want to know. And I'd like to point out a few things on the map here. You get my pointer? Okay, if you look up here, Thompson Road, coming down here, county line, over to Star Market, 31, the Pike, Helen School Road. This is the proposed area for the mine activities, and if you've driven by, you've probably seen trees down and a gate, whatever. Okay, up around here is, last but not least, is Champion Creek. It's going to come down this way, cross County Line Road right here, come along the tree line. It's going to pass over into the area where, by the power plant, go down through the field, and eventually it ends up across Red Dog Road, and ends up in Melcroft, by the Melcroft Road and Albright Road, and eventually flows into the Indian Creek at Melcroft. Okay, the agenda for tonight, we're going to update you on Mountain Water Association's permit appeal. We're going to go over the effects of property values, experience some of those affected by existing mines. We do have some people that have had some rather poor experiences with the mine to talk to you tonight. The true cost of mining community and how you can take actions. Once again, hold your questions to the end. Thank you. Next guest is going to be Emily Collins.
Okay, everybody, thanks for being here. You had heard from me, oh, look at that. Boy, that's a bad presentation to start. You had heard from me months ago, right? Most of you, I think, were here. And I had told you about the steps that we go through for a permit appeal. So now I'm here to update you on where we are in that process and some of the things that have happened. So right now, we're in a phase called discovery, and we've actually motioned the Environmental Hearing Board to extend the discovery phase so that we can conduct depositions of the Department of Environmental Protection staff. The amount of information that we've gotten is really quite large. So Melissa, the community advocate, and I, and two other attorneys at Fair Shake, where I work, we're all going through all of the data that we've received, and it's a lot, upwards of 20,000 electronic documents. So we're making our way through that. We're finding some pretty interesting things, and I'm not going to bore you with tons of details, but one of the things that we noted is that it looks like, and I want to qualify this just because there's more data to go through, but it looks like what they're going to do is send the coal to a cleaning facility in Hawking.
Hunker.
I'm sorry?
Hunker?
Hunker, thank you. I knew I was going to get that wrong. Hunker. So do you guys know where that is? Yeah. Okay, great. Then I don't have to tell you, which was good. But now you get a sense for the flow of operations, right? So that's the kind of thing that we're finding, and of course we're finding it in things like emails that have been submitted in this discovery process. So that's where we are, and after we've gone through this discovery phase, and just to be clear, all sides have asked each other questions in discovery. So we've submitted answers, LCT has submitted answers, and DEP has submitted answers. There's probably going to be some back and forth about whether those answers are sufficient. We've already been involved in some of those discussions. And then there might be some motions related to that that the judge has to decide. But we're anticipating a hearing probably in, a hearing meaning the trial, probably in January. So just making sure that's actually up here. Okay. So that's the schedule that we're anticipating. That January date may get pushed back just a little bit depending on how the motions go and what the judge asks us to do before the hearing. But so far we're anticipating right around then, January, will be the trial. So our experts are evaluating all this data that we're going through, and I'm sure their experts are looking at our data too. So that's where we are. I think I have another slide. Is that true? No, I don't. Okay.
Oh, do you want to go over quickly this map and why the Grand Dam and just, or anything you want to hear before?
Oh, okay. Okay, so one of the things that we're strongly objecting to in the permit issuance and the appeal of that permit issuance is that the Grand Dam mine that was denied by the DEP, right, has a significant overlap. Yeah, you guys want to use the pointer, don't you? All right. So there's a significant overlap between the permit boundaries for the Grand Dam mine and the permit boundaries for the Rustic Ridge mine. So on this map, I don't know, can you guys even read that? Probably not. So the Grand Dam is in the red, which is here. That was the proposal. Of course, it didn't happen. And we're calling it Donegal here because that was the original name of it, but it's the Rustic Ridge. So Donegal mine application area back in 2013 is right here. So you can kind of see how it overlaps. It's in what color would you call that? Brown Sierra, I think might be the Creole color. One of the things we're objecting to strongly is that there aren't sufficient barriers between the old Melcroft mine and this mine, the LCT's proposed Rustic Ridge mine. That was an issue in the Grand Dam litigation, that ended up in the mine being denied a permit, and we're bringing it up as an issue here. So that's one of the hotly contested issues, and our experts are telling us that there's still a significant risk that there's an insufficient barrier between the Rustic Ridge Mine and the Melcroft Mine. In addition to that, that there are insufficient barriers, like literally space and soil and rock, right, between the permit boundaries for Randam and places that you could see a discharge of water from the mine. So not seeps, right, but discharges. So those are two really significant issues, and one of the reasons to kind of understand the similarities between the Rustic Ridge Mine and the Randam Mine, because that's exactly the issue that led to the denial of the Randam permit. Is that good? Okay. So I'm not going to take questions right now. I'm going to pass it along, but I will be back at the table right behind here to answer questions later.
My wife just told me quit shaking the microphone and quit talking with my hands. You can't teach an old dog new tricks. Next guest is Mark Krystyniak. He is a local realtor, and he wants to talk this evening about property value.
Good evening, everyone. This is my second time back, and I just want to give you a little bit of an update of what you need to do to protect yourself when it comes to the possibility of this mine. One thing that sticks out very prominent is you should all have your water tested by an independent laboratory for quality and for flow rates, so that if the mine does come in and now your water goes from producing 5 or 6 gallons a minute down to 1 gallon a minute and it becomes polluted, you'll have something to be able to substantiate your claim against the coal company. I had talked the last time that I was here about what valuations you can expect from having a coal mine situation in your area. It's difficult, but real estate is very subjective. I can tell you that it costs this much to build a house, this much to buy the ground and everything else. But for a buyer of property, it's a subjective thing. If they have children, how much traffic is on the road, how noisy is it, is there a lot of pollution from trucks or whatever being caused, and just the general layout of how close your house is to the road that may be affected. My understanding is they're going to go right down County Line Road to the top of 3 Mile Hill and turn onto 31. Well, that's going to be one big bottleneck there with that amount of traffic. My mother lives right next to 31 and on County Line, so it's a very big concern. People need to protect themselves for your assets, because if it comes in and it's detrimental, your property values are going to tumble and you're not going to be able to sell your home easily to another buyer. And I know people have put a lot of money into their homes that you might have a 3-bedroom, 2.5 house that's on 2 acres of ground, and you might have a hard time selling it with an operation as large as what this is going to be a few miles away from you. If you want to, it's not really going to help you, but you could get an appraisal of your house. The appraisal is going to tell you what your value of your home is worth, but it's not going to give, they don't do subjective things like noise pollution, traffic and all that when they do an appraisal. They just do, okay, your house is 25 years old, it has a roof that's 15 years old, Okay, so appraisals are good, but they're not going to give you any kind of meat to go after somebody if it comes up later on that you're trying to sell your house. Because if you do an appraisal now, in 5 years from now you try to sell your house, your appraisal might be, let's just use a number of $200,000 for your property. It can go to 150 or 125, not because of the coal mine itself, but from all the subjective things that people are going to see it. They're going to not say, well, yeah, it's appraised at $200,000, but I'm not giving you more than 125 for it because you got a coal company that's right down the road. Okay? So I just want everyone to know that you need to protect your rights. If you don't have a survey of your property, you should have some kind of a survey of somehow knowing where your property boundaries are. Because when these big trucks start running, there's no way those coal trucks are going to be able to stay on the right-of-ways in a lot of cases to when they're driving on the road. Weight limits are going to be a concern. Are they going to be able to even have those trucks on the road? Will be something that will have to be addressed later. I'm in Mount Pleasant. I own the Howard Hanna franchise in Mount Pleasant. If anybody wants to contact me, my phone number in my office is 547-2170. You can call me and I can tell you what I think your house is worth. I am not allowed to appraise your property. You have to be a certified appraiser in order to give a bona fide hard number for anyone who might be getting a loan or anything like that. Other than that, Jim, I really don't have a lot to say. That people don't know that this will definitely adversely affect the property values of their property. Mining subsides. Oh, that's a good one. Someone asked me, what do you do about mine subsides? I've been in the real estate business for 19 years. I've never had anyone buy mine subsides. Mount Pleasant, if everyone knows in this area, has been mined out many, many years ago in the 1900s. Okay? And the mine shafts back then were between 7 and 9 feet high, is how deep the coal was in the ground. There's nobody who had mine subsides. The only thing is with mine subsides insurance, if you buy it, you may never use it. But if you don't have it, if there be a problem with subsidence, you're not covered with your regular insurance. And sometimes, if you wait till someone has a mine subsidence collapse, the insurance companies then stray away from wanting to sell you mine subsidence insurance.
I understand Mark is not going to be able to stick around for questions and answers later. He's got a meeting later this evening. So I'd like to thank him for coming out tonight.
Anybody has any questions, I can meet you over here for a second and just talk to you before we go.
Okay, next guests are Mr. and Mrs. Picklo from Somerset County. And we'd like to have them talk a little bit about their experiences they've had with Costa Mine.
We're just going to play quick videos that the Picklos took actually from their home. The first one is one of the blasts. They experienced 61 blasts total. And that annoying sound at the beginning was the siren that they let off before they blast, just as a warning.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah. It's great. So they had to listen to that 61 times while the mine was opening up. All right, so next we have, I have one more video, yeah. So next we have a video, it's a compilation of videos that they took inside their home. So each one of those blasts also sent a lot of vibrations going through their home. So this is what they were feeling, just an example of some of them.
Woo!
Alright, so now.
Good evening, I'm MJ Picklo, this is my husband Michael. We bought our home in 2004. We moved from the city so that I could get closer to my teaching job. Little did we know when we bought the home that the previous owner was well aware that there was a deep mine going in directly in front of their home. We did not find out about it until we had been in the home for 3 years, when some of the neighbors came forward and told us that there's a deep mine going in. The mine is 300 feet from our property. The pit is 630 feet.
Just 1 second, I'm going to tell you as a realtor, if you have a property and you're selling it, you have to disclose to a potential buyer that mining has been started or is contemplated when you're selling your property. They should have had to tell you that the property was going to have mining within so many feet of your property. That is a law in Pennsylvania.
And they did not do that. And we saw an attorney about that, and then by the time we found out about it, it was according to him, it was too late. We had no idea. The
All I'm
neighbors.
saying is, if you sell your properties, folks, you gotta let people know that there's gonna be a deep mine next to your property or underneath your property.
It was not here. No, there's not, but you should just.
Let's hope we don't have it.
The mine pit that you're seeing there, when I walk out into my front porch, I look across the road and I'm looking into the pit. It's 120 feet down.
That's your porch right there with the grass.
No, that's the edge on there. It's across the road.
Oh, you're across the road.
Right there. So we're looking directly down into it. Actually, it was 62 blasts. Sometimes the blasts happen more than one time a day. The mining.
Some were worse than others.
Some were worse than others. He thought way ahead to have the mining company and the blasting company, was Wampum Hardware, that was doing the blasting. He made them call before every blast, which was a very good thing, because then we knew exactly what day, what time the blast was going to take place.
And that's how I was able to.
And that's how he was able to photograph. We have a video of every single blast, inside and out. Either he was on the outside and my daughter was on the inside, or I was home that day, but we made sure that we got, the minute the sirens went off, they told us a time the blasting was going to take place around 10 o'clock. We would get our cameras ready, our iPhones ready, and head out. And we take pictures of the outside blast and the inside blast. So it's about 62 blasts, twice, starting in November to May.
The more severe blast that started, we started to see some cracks in our ceilings in our house. We reported it to the DEP 4 different times, and when we got the report back from the DEP, they're stating that there was the blasting wasn't due, or the damage to the house wasn't due to the blasting.
They put a seismograph, I think it's called, on the front of the house. When they took the readings For the blast damage, they didn't use our seismograph. They used one down the road from another house, which he actually caught immediately that they were recording a reading from another house, not from ours, which we reported to our attorney, who right now we're in an appeal for the blast damage. Every single room in our house is damaged.
Plus the fact that the DEP doesn't even consider the damage that you have in your house. They just strictly go by the readings off of the seismograph. And one of the other things that you got to check is these seismographs that are being put in certain houses around your area. They are not from the DEP. They're the independent company which the coal company has them put it in. I asked for the independent inspections of their testing of that equipment, and they could not provide that for me. And that's one of the grounds that we're appealing for the damage we have on our house.
Since the mine is open, for those of you that are animal lovers, the blasting along with a lot of the noise has caused a lot of anxiety in our pets. We've actually had to take our dog. This might sound funny to some of you, but our dog is having anxiety attacks because of the noise and the blasting and the beeping and the bulldozers. He thinks we're under attack. And so he's constantly really getting anxious and upset over it. And we've actually had him at the vet this week to get some anxiety meds for him to try to calm him down. Our chickens, they get they go bonkers with some of the stuff that's going on. From that mine, the wind flow comes across the mine and across the coal pile and hits our front of our house. So there's constantly dirt flying from that area. When the DEP shows up, the mining company will bring out the sprayer truck, and they will spray water down on the roads and wet everything down as long as the DEP is there. The minute the DEP leaves, they stop spraying water and the dirt starts kicking up again. So he takes videos of everything. The noise starts at 4 o'clock in the morning. The coal trucks pull in, jake braking, down the road, right behind that building on the left. On the other side is the coal pile. They pull in about 4 o'clock in the morning, jake braking the whole way down, beeping. The bulldozers will pull out. Some of the bulldozers and the equipment that this mine is using, Wilson Creek, seems to be put together with duct tape and clothes hangers, because it sounds like they're absolutely falling apart. They're dying. So at 4 o'clock in the morning, they start pulling in, the bulldozers pull out, and they start loading coal. That will go all day long, constantly, till about midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning. Now, they don't have the tipple up yet. They're just pulling the coal. This is what it looks from my front porch at night. And those lights stay on all the time. Where you see on the right, it sort of looks like a bridge abutment. That's going to be the tipple. Right now, they're hauling the coal out in bulldozers and a dump truck. So those of you that go hunting, if you know what a gunshot sounds like, every 7 to 10 minutes they bring a load of coal in a dump truck and they dump it, and the tailgate on it bangs, and it sounds like a rifle shot. So every 10 minutes from 4 o'clock in the morning till midnight, we have that banging till the truck breaks down or they stop for a minute. We notice now that coal is getting on the road because they brought in a street cleaner, and they're going not up and down our road, but up and down 601, and they're starting to clean coal off the road because it's flying off the trucks.
They put dust monitors on their property just 2 weeks ago at different areas at their property, I guess to collect, to see if there is dust flow coming out of the mine pit. And now they put cameras watching see if anybody's tampering with the.
And one of the cameras facing our house, so they're watching the dust monitor and watching us at the same time to see if we're doing anything to their dust monitors. Once they get the tipple up, we're expecting them to work 24/7. They're working 2 shifts now, which means we in our house, the miners get to go home after 1 shift, but we don't. We work a double shift every day. When they're working 24/7, we're living in a mine. You have to be vigilant. You have to take video. You have to take pictures. You have to keep a log of everything that's going on in your home, your property. You have to be responsible to protect your home, because it's hard to get anyone to listen to you or to try to protect your home or to help you in any way. We've talked to representatives from Toomey's office, Ross's office, Metzger's office. I can't think of all the offices we've called. Reese, or is it Reese? Nothing. We can't even get a phone call back when we talk to them to just please come and help us. Do something for us. We got nothing back from them. Another thing that we're going to notice is our electric bill is going to go really up, because we can't open up the doors and we can't open up the windows for ventilation. We had a lot of nice breeze coming in, but in the hot weather we can't do that. So we had to put an air conditioner in the living room, and we had to put an air conditioner in my daughter's front room, because you can't open the windows and it was too hot. So in fact, just last week, Rural Electric came over and took a meter reading, and I think they probably noticed a spike in our electric, because I can't hang out clothes, and we can't leave windows open and that. We're running more electricity to cool down the house. To say that this turned our lives upside down, it surely has. It surely has.
Thank you for your compassionate thought.
Is there anybody else in your area? Naturally, there are other homes. But anyone that's affected as badly as what you are, because all along that strip are homes.
We're the home directly. We're the home directly in front of the pit. There's a home up at the top of the road, and there's a home up on the hillside. But there's no home as close in proximity to the pit as we are. We're singled out.
Our next speaker is going to be Marty Hinebaugh.
Hi there. I'm Marty Hinebaugh. My husband and I live within the footprint of the proposed mine on the very eastern side on the Jonesville-Stollstown Road. And I've been involved in learning about what the plans are for this mine for several years now. After listening to Mary Jo and Mike, we know what can really happen with the blasting. And all that I can add to this is to let you know how things are supposed to work and what the rules, some of the rules are that we can try to have enforced. The first question, is damage from blasting a possibility? Of course it is, and we have heard how that happens. It's of course from the vibrations. As the portal to the Rustic Ridge 1 mine is opened, developed, there will undoubtedly be blasting. There, in the kind of underground coal mining that will be done here, room and pillar, where pillars of coal are left for support, there is usually not blasting needed in that. Occasionally they do run into strata where they have to do blasting, but that is usually deep underground. It is the blasting, as the Picklos experienced in the opening of the mine, developing the portal, that is the real problem. DEP has requirements and regulations about blasting. Actually, they're administered by the New Stanton DEP mine office because they come under the classification of surface mining. This is for portal development. The regulations are the same regulations they have for surface mining. And what I know for a fact is I've talked to the mine inspector from New Stanton, and to date, this operator, LCT, has not submitted an application for a blasting permit. That is not to say they won't be doing it, but it has not been submitted yet. They haven't had any contact with them about blasting into this mine yet. Who's responsible for the damage? As you've heard, DEP has to determine that the coal operator actually created the damage from blasting, and they do that, as they explained, by checking the seismograph records that are kept of all the blasts. If the seismograph records indicate that the blast was outside of the regulations for DEP, then DEP can acknowledge that the blasting did cause the damage. But it's up to DEP to make that determination. And as you heard, there can be a lot of shenanigans going on as far as the seismographing of the blast is concerned. So what can you do to protect yourself? One thing you want to do is 30 days before the mining company knows that they're going to be doing any blasting for opening a mine, they must write a letter to all the property owners who have structures on their property within a half a mile of where the blasting is to occur. On one of the maps, big maps back there, I've made a little tool that you can use to run around a point where the blasting would occur, and you can see whether your property might be involved in that 1/2 mile radius. Mining company must then contact the property owners within that 1/2 mile radius and let them know that a pre-mine blasting survey is available. It is then up to the property owner to take the initiative to say, yes, I want that, and see that it's done. That survey will include everything on your property, all the structures on your property, and your water if you have private water, if you're not on a public water supply. The value of doing that is simply that if trouble occurs and damage occurs, you do then have some record of the condition of your water supplies and your structures.
Next we're going to hear from Candy Christner. She's also experienced some difficulty in Somerset County, so we'll let her have the mic.
I'm used to using microphones. Yes, I'm from Somerset also. I dealt with the same coal company that Picklo's have dealt with. Started back in 2011. We got the pre-blasting notification. Our water was tested. We really didn't think a lot of it at the time. We didn't own their coal rights, so we just weren't really concerned. Until 2012, we started to experience some difficulties in our water. We noticed a big difference. We had a water conditioner and the filters started clogging up and had a funny color to it. And then my water had a strange odor to it. So we called the coal company, they sent a person out, they tested my water, they said the results were exactly the same. I said, okay. So when another month or so was getting worse, I called them again. They came out, they tested my water. They said the results are the same. I said, I don't care what your results say, I'm telling you there's something going on with my water. So lo and behold, Memorial Day weekend, I had company and somebody was taking a shower and we lost our water. It did not come back. We called them. They came to our house like 2 days later and drilled a well. It was not sufficient water. So they brought us what they call a water buffalo. I don't know if you're familiar with that. It's a 500-gallon tank of water that's out of the swimming pool. So we contacted DEP. DEP said that the coal company would have to replace our water with something as good, if not better, than what we already had. So they already had, there was a Queen Mahoney water line was already near our home, and it seemed like the obvious solution, but they dragged their feet. It went 3 or 4 months. We were getting the deliveries of the water 3 times a week. They finally had a meeting. They said, we're going to resolve this. We're going to get the permits. We're going to get permission from the property owners to bring this water line and replace your water. Well, we thought, okay, it's going to be taken care of. Well, we went to the meeting. It seemed like everything was done. Nothing happened. Winter started to come. The weather started getting cold. We said, this water is going to start freezing in this buffalo. And sure enough, it did. It froze. They came out, their solution was to wrap it with heating tapes. So we had a lawyer by that time, and the lawyer said, you know, get this resolved, this isn't going to take that long. So winter went on, the weather got colder, the water froze several other times. They did all other kind of things to keep it thawed. Spring came, and the DEP said, okay, this has gone long enough. They started putting pressure on the coal company that you've got to get this taken care of. My husband was relentless, calling DEP, calling a lawyer, didn't get anywhere. Okay, that was 2013. 2014 rolls around, we still don't have water. Finally, the DEP, I'm trying to think what they did. Anyways, in the meantime, I've become pretty upset about not having water. Nothing's getting done about it. So I have a little protester in me, and I started putting signs on my car that said, just say no to PBS coal. And I started getting harassed by the coal company. People followed me home. They were not very nice. Also, I had a neighbor who was not, who did own the coal rights to his property. He was not supposed to even be in the plan where they were mining, only because he dug a well to put a geothermal heating system in. The well drillers ran into the coal shaft, and it could have been another Q Creek mine had there been people down there. Only to find out that they stole the coal under his property. It happens even today. So to make a long story short, they finally did start, after 2.5 years, they started putting the water line in, and in December of 2014, 2.5 years later, we finally have water. It is not nearly as good as the water that I had. And we were told that we wouldn't have to pay for our water since we have a meter now, or we have to get a bill every quarterly. And now they're telling us that we're better off today than we were before we lost our water. So we still not have settled with this coal company. They're not good neighbors. You have to, like I said, about getting your independent water studies, pre-blasting, anything that you can do ahead of time to protect yourself, you have to do it. It's hard to get anybody to fight for you. We're having the same situation as the Picklos are. The representatives, nobody wants to hear about it. All about coal jobs, and we should be glad that it's bringing all these mining jobs to the community. So that's all I have to say about that.
Thank you. Next we'll hear from Betsy Downer. She's over in Greene County, and she's had similar experiences.
Hi all, I'm Betsy. I'm from Greene County, and we have a very similar situation over in Greene County. Longwall mining has been going on over there for years and years and years. So we got our letter of intent that our farm was going to be mined under in the fall of 2008. And in June of 2009, I got up very early in the morning, as was my habit back then, and I had about 10,000 things done before 8 o'clock, had used my water, and my husband came home from work that morning and went to take a shower at 8 o'clock in the morning, and we had no water. Gone. It was that fast. And we knew that the mine was approaching our house. The long wall was about 100 yards off the corner of our house. So that morning we called our land agent, and he said, just switch over to your water buffalo. And I said, what water buffalo? And he said, you mean you don't have a water buffalo? I said, no. That morning, all the trucks came up our driveway, and they were digging up our yard trying to tap into our lines to get water into our house. They put up a 1,500-gallon water buffalo, and it is still there to this day, 2017. Every year, for the last 5 years, we've been told that this summer is the summer we're getting city water. We live pretty much out in the middle of nowhere on a big hill, so strategically, it's very difficult for city water to come through. They have drilled 2 wells, made 2 attempts, They've drilled down 400 feet and not gotten any water. The coal seam is at 600 feet, so they were getting close to the coal seam. No water. Our stream that runs through our cow pasture, you could watch it run and just go down into the ground. It was just gone. So they put a water buffalo in our cow pasture also. Our cows had to kind of learn how to drink out of a little thing. So they were drinking out of a little thing on the water buffalo. I don't even know how to explain it. But that stream has regenerated, but that stream is way at the bottom of the hill. So to get water up to the top of the hill, their proposed plan was to drill a well at the bottom of our hill and put in 3 or 4 pumps to pump the water up the hill. And that we would be responsible for. So that was a no right off the bat. They had proposed a settlement, which would be a 30-year settlement, but you can't settle on no water. So we've never settled with them. And for 8 years now, we have water trucks coming up our driveway twice a week. Our driveway is very long. It's a 1/4 mile long. It goes up the hill. We had been in charge of maintaining that. They are maintaining it for us now that their water trucks are coming up there, but they're not maintaining it adequately. Every time something needs done, you have to call them. I spoke to our land agent the end of January this past year, and it was the same conversation. When is the city water coming? Well, and there's this thing floating around out there called the paper that has to make its way around for everybody to sign off on this plan to get us city water. The plan involves 2 coal mines which are fighting, the coal mine that goes under our property and a coal mine that goes under a neighboring property. So they're having their own little argument over who's going to do what, and in the meantime the landowners are kind of sitting there in limbo. I've been told that this October is the date, but we've been told that for the past 5 years. So this October is the last date for me. I'll keep you updated, but it is now time to call the DEP back. The DEP has been at our kitchen table many, many times. It's time to call them back and get them involved and now get a lawyer to get water. And my concern is very much what Mark had spoke about. We have no property value. We have no water. We have 127 acres. We have a nice place, but without any water, we have no value. And I have 2 kids that this property is going to be left to. I want them to be able to sell it. If we need to be able to sell it someday, I want to be able to sell it. But that's our concern right now, is our property value. So I'll keep you up to date on what's going to happen with us, but it's been 8 years that we've been dealing with the coal mine.
Thank you, Betsy. Again, we're going to hear from Marty, which is our township expert.
Well, now you've heard what can happen. I'll tell you what should happen. I'll tell you what should happen. You do need to know what the DEP regulations are. If it does become a legal matter, you need to know what the law really is. First of all, water loss, possible water loss from this proposed mine is a real likelihood in this area. In the 601 properties that are in the footprint of the mine, there are 173 private wells, 89 private springs, and 217 properties that use the public Indian Creek Valley water. So you can see that there's a lot of the residents in this area are served by private water supplies. And there is a very high likelihood in the kind of mining that would be done here that there will be interruption of water supplies. So how do you protect yourself? Well, the regulations are that the mining company every 6 months must deliver to DEP a plan for their operations for the next 6 months, exactly what properties are going to be mined under. And at the same, they have to get approval of that. And when they do that, they have to send to every property owner in that plan who has private water, and every property owner who has a structure too, but I'll get to that later, but who has private water, they have to send a registered letter saying, we're going to be mining under your house and we want to do a pre-mining water survey. This information I've given you here in the first was taken from background sampling testing that was done. You remember several years ago they were around and tested water. But this is the pre-mining water survey, this is the official one, and they're really supposed to do 4 of them. 2 of them in dry weather, 2 of them in wet weather. They test the quality and the quantity of your well and your springs, what the well configuration is and how much it produces, and your spring, what its yield is. This information then is returned to you within 30 days of when it's done. They have to give you a copy of the information. Now, what you can, first of all, you need to have them do that survey. There's no question about that. But you maybe also want to have, as has been suggested by several of the speakers, that you have your water tested by a first-class testing laboratory, especially for the quality of it, so that you have that on record too. So, what you can do, one of the reasons that it's so important for you to agree to the mining company doing the pre-mining survey is, by law, if you have had a pre-mining water survey done and your water is polluted or damaged or diminished, there is a presumption that the coal mining is responsible for it. And so, as you can hear by the experiences that we've heard about, the coal companies know how to drag their feet. But the actual requirement is that if you lose your water, they are required by the regulations to provide you with a temporary source of water within 24 hours. You need to know what the regulations are so you can demand what needs to be done. And the regulations further say that the complete restoration of damaged water supply needs to be done within 3 years. Obviously, it doesn't happen that way, but you need to know what the regulations are anyhow. If your water supply is diminished or reduced, the first thing you do, as Betsy said, is you call the mine company and DEP, and you let them know right away that there's something wrong with the water supply. If you have had a pre-mining water survey done, if you've agreed to that and it's on record, then the company is presumed to be responsible for providing you with water. If you have not, if you have refused to have that pre-mining survey, then legally you have to take the initiative to prove that the mining caused the damage to the water. So there's a really big, important reason why you need to do the pre-mining water survey. Now, I want to take just a couple minutes and talk to you about how it's restored. They can do various things. As Betsy said, they try drilling a well, or they can try to repair the damage, or put you on a public water supply. There are some things about putting you on a public water supply in this area that you need to be aware of. If somebody up the road from where you live has had their water damaged or diminished by mining, and the decision is made to run a new Indian Creek Valley water line up there to service them, and you happen to live along that line, if you live in Donegal Township, which is part of Westmoreland County, you come under rules that require that even if your water is fine and you don't even want public water, you still have to have a tap-in and pay the $1,600 for it and pay a monthly service charge whether you use the water or not. Now, those are the rules in Westmoreland County, and it's something to be aware of. In Salt Lake Township in Fayette County, that is not the case. There is no mandatory tie-in in that case. So now let me tell you about structures on your property and what you need to know about protecting them, because that also has to do with pre-mining structure surveys. Anybody within, as I mentioned to you, the 6-month operating plan that the company has to supply every 6 months to DEP saying where they're going to be mining. Every property that has a structure on it, that property owner must be sent by the company a letter which will say, we want to do a pre-mining structure survey on your property. Here again, it's really important that you agree to that and let them come in and do it. And if you can be there when they do it and make sure that they're doing a proper job of it, is a very good idea. And the rules require that they do a survey on most of the structures on your property. Most all of them are listed, even garages and appurtenances, as they are called, to your dwelling. So it's important to have that done. However, there is no presumption if there is some damage to your structure, and in this case the damage would probably be from subsidence. Suppose there was subsidence that happened while the coal mine was still active, DEP must acknowledge that that damage was caused by the mining. It's not automatic as it is with the water. The responsibility for it is not that automatic. But it's still very important that you have a record of what your structures were like before the damage occurred. So there's been some mention made of subsidence damage and insurance. DEP originated a program, it's mine subsidence insurance, and you can actually secure that through DEP and through some insurance carriers. Here's the thing, with room and pillar mining, as they're proposing to do here, the subsidence usually doesn't happen while the mine is active. It happens much later. And when the coal pillars have lost their integrity and underground strata has moved, then there can be surface subsidence. At that point, the coal company has no responsibility. If they're no longer actively mining, they have no responsibility, and your only fallback would be mine subsidence insurance. It costs about annually, it costs about $50 for every $100,000 of insurance that you secure. And it's not a requirement, but it is a possibility. We have information that gives you much more detail about that if you're interested in learning about that. So let me see now. Have I used up my time and told you everything?
I think you covered everything.
Huh?
I think you covered everything.
She said yes.
I think you covered everything.
She said yes.
She said yes, okay. Next on the agenda.
Thank you, Marty.
But we will, all of us will be back here at these tables to answer any questions that you have and give you some more information too.
Next, my wife Judy, who will talk about community costs by the concerned citizens.
Hello. My section is about the community costs, and this is things that we've pulled together, that there are costs once the coal mine starts to the community and the people that are there. Below is a list of all of the costs that we come up with our discussion. And if we go on to the next slides, we'll go through each of them individually. First is the pollution to Indian Creek and the tributaries. And if you look on the left side, that's the confluence of Champion Creek and Indian Creek near Melcroft. And that's what the water should look like, and that's what Mountain Watershed has been working for a long time to get it to that point. If you look at the right side, that's a polluted stream, and that's the Fulton Mine discharge that's going into Poplar Run and eventually goes into Indian Creek. Believe it or not, this wasn't an old picture that was taken. This was taken in June of 2017. So they're still cleaning up mine discharge from existing mines from before. So the job isn't done, and now they want to start another mine. You want to go on to the next one? This is the cost of remediation. The upper table shows the cost of the installation cost. And so far, with the remediation pools that they've put in, they spent $7,600,000 approximately dollars, and that's just for the installation. Once the installation is done, the job isn't over. You have to maintain the cost of it. You have to take care of the pipes, clean the pools, make sure that any other discharge is taken care of. And that is costing almost $91,000 a year. There's two other, at the bottom lower table, there's two others that are proposed to go in, and that's going to cost over $1 million for those. This is done by Mountain Watershed. It's taken care of by contributions from people as well as grants from the government. So guess what? The taxpayers are paying for that cleanup that the mines cost. The next one is the flooding, and this is a big concern. This is the flooding of Champion Creek in September of 2013. This is what had occurred with the flood without any water that's coming from Rustic Ridge Mine. So this is the natural flooding that occurs. If you go to the next slide, this is Champion Creek in March 1st of 2017. And this is the area right next to where Rustic Ridge Mine is going to be dumping water. And if you notice, it's 17, so it isn't an infrequent occurrence. This has been happening yearly with the flooding of the creeks. The next slide just shows the discharge from the mine, and the center shows you that LCT anticipates that Rustic Ridge Mine may discharge 1,715 gallons per minute, or up to 4,458 gallons per minute into Champion Creek. This is anywhere from 3 to 7 times the normal flow of the creek. So I don't know where all this water is going to go, but that's where it's proposed to be dumped into Champion Creek. Potential damage to private water supplies. Marty discussed this in detail, and we just wanted you to be aware, because a lot of people think just because I have a private water supply, this water problem isn't going to affect me. Well, it very well could, because there's a cost if there's pollution to the water. And guess what? Indian Valley Water Authority takes their water from Indian Creek. So if there's additional treatment that needs to be done to that water, I don't think Indian Creek's going to be picking up the cost of that. I think it's going to be the consumers, the other people that are on the water. And as Marty mentioned also, if someone loses water and you happen to be on the same road and they have to take the line past your place, you have to pay for the tapping fee and the monthly fee if you live in Westmoreland County. This is a letter from a realtor, and it shows the potential property loss value. There are copies of this back on the tables back there if you want to see it a little bit better. But up at the top, the realtor appraised the house when it was going to be sold for $193,300. After the realtor had found out that they were going to be at the opening near the mine, they were within the 1,500 feet, plus all of the noise, truck traffic, and problems that are occurred. He then reassessed the property. Oh, and besides, there is a concern of subsidence that may occur later on. So that kind of stays with the property as well. But the assessed value went down from $193,300 to $75,000 to $115,000. So basically, it was a loss of anywhere from $78,000 to $118,000 for their house value, if they could sell it. No, this was a different mine. This isn't this mine, but it's just an example of what happens to property value when a mine goes in next to your place. I think we've talked about it, especially with the people here. With the mine, you have all kinds of noise with the blasting, the fans, road dirt, congestion, and pollution from the heavy trucks. Tourism is the #1 employer in our area, and there's going to be a huge impact to tourism. If you damage the water, that involves, it hurts the fishing, the boating, the swimming, any wildlife that's around. And we do have, I think, 4 campgrounds in a very short area within the mine. In fact, one is almost at the back of the mine. So tourism is going to be affected. The heavy traffic is going to be a problem with both the camping and the skiing area, because that's going to be a lot of traffic that's going to be there that's going to take away from the enjoyment of the tourism. I think we already mentioned too, increased safety hazards because of the extra traffic, and also County Line Road was not meant to carry 24-ton trucks. It was designed for 10-ton, and if you're going to have one truck every 6 minutes that weighs 24 tons, there's going to be damage that's done to the road. So the mining company is responsible for that, but there is the problem of the road being troubled, and also they're going to have to repair it, and that's going to be an annoyance while they're repairing the road. There's also going to be an impact on the local bridges. The one that's shown there, the water is fairly low, but if we have flooding, that's going to bring a lot of debris down. It's going to be on top of the bridge, on the side of the bridge, blocking it, and the township would have to be responsible for taking care of that. Okay, pass it back to Jim.
Thank you. Great.
Good evening. My name is Kantorik, and I live on County Line Road, but not right at the entrance, thank goodness. I want to go over a few things. This, what you can do is take steps about the home reappraisal. Other than the market value in selling your home, you may want to consider about having your home reassessed to lower the taxes. So at some point, when your house is worth less, you should be paying less taxes. So if you get it appraised now, and then sometime down the road, 5 years or so, you get it reappraised, you can go up to the courthouse and ask them to lower your taxes. You would have a valid proof. Other than that, you have no proof on what it's worth. This is the only way you could get that. If the mining starts, please allow them to do these pre-blast and pre-mining surveys. Okay, like we said before, if you don't allow them to come in and do this, you have to have your own attorney then. And if you're like me, I sort my mail over the garbage can, so I may not know. They're supposed to send a registered mail. They may not do that. So I may not recognize the address, which I almost did with the, CME engineering. I didn't know who that was. Well, luckily I decided to open it. But, so just really pay attention to these. It could come, I know CME, LTC, Robindale Energy Services was another name they used. They used a number of various names. And please respond to that survey. Request copies of everything. They should automatically give it to you, but please ask them. Okay? And, you know, we were talking a little bit before that most of the stuff with the Mountain Watershed has grants for specific projects, and it would be for the cleanup and everything. But there's not really a lot of grants to help pay for this appeal. So if you would kindly think about making a donation to help pay for this appeal and its ongoing cost, we would really appreciate that. At this time, I'm going to direct you to the various tables around the room. Our presenters will be there. And also, please help yourself to cookies. And up front here, there's some refreshments. And thank you very much for coming out to this meeting tonight.
I'm going to be passing question and answers and fact sheets around. We spent numerous hours putting this together and backing our facts up with research. Like I say, Marty is our resident expert. You can't fool her about anything. So thank you, Marty. So once again,
I got here a little bit later. Did they talk about how they're going to take these trucks from the mine with the coal, and what direction are they going?
no, they haven't. From all we do know that they have applied for a permit,
6.2 miles.
6.2 miles, but we don't know the exact traffic route.
Well, we know we're repairing 31 right now.
Yes.
And, you know, everybody says, first of all, to leave the mine and go on County Line Road to come out at the top of whatever we call going down into Mount Pleasant. That's a steep hill. But to come down towards Champion, I call it what do you want to call it, the little grocery store there. And then you make your left and you go down to Sarnelli's. But that route is much easier for a truck to travel than to go the opposite direction on County Line Road. Am I correct? Well, you all know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, from what I understand, they do have to post their route, but they got so much time to do it. But the only thing that we do know is they've applied for a permit for 6 point.
Which, in other words, they can do whatever they want. And we all know from the people that are here that have gone through this, and I've never been against mining. I feel that it's a good source of energy for us. But in this particular area, because it is the Laurel Highlands, we have, this is from Pittsburgh. How many people come from Washington? They come from all over the world to come down here and use the rapids. Isn't there anything within the government that we could go to? I mean, I know the girls that work here, you know, they're trying everything they can. But there has to be somebody who understands that we can't gobble up every piece of land in the United States. Look what happened to Houston. They've just macadammed the whole place. There's no prairie land anymore. So the water has nowhere to go. And nobody understands this. Why am I the only one that understands?
Well, I think they do.
They don't want to understand. They don't want to understand.
Well, thanks again for coming out, and feel free to go to the stations and ask many questions and pick up the material for handouts.